I generally start with the horizon color first, and I set the value slowly. I work in layers, and it's very thin paint. Not a lot of brush strokes, not a lot of texture when I first start out, because I know I'm going to be doing subsequent layers. And I usually work with local color. I just start laying in values, brush it on. I know some of the red oxide will be showing through. It'll be semi-transparent. You can still see the lines of the drawing underneath. Mountain range in the background, scumbling some of the details over top. So I'm going to mix a green, sap green. I'll desaturate it with some purple. I'll lighten it, and I add a little orange to warm it up because it's going to be in the sun. At this point, I'm going to start painting some of the mid-ground elements. This would be a little mountain range with some green trees on it, and I'm painting in the shapes. The color I'm using is a sap green, and I desaturate it to darken it with some Diox purple. When you're painting, sometimes just use a reference, but something will happen where it'll just show up as an accident, but you like it. So what I'm doing here is accentuating a couple of tree shapes that were back there in just a darker value of that mountain range, so that they're just there in the mist. So I'm painting in those shapes and just accentuating what already happened as an accident, and I'm just adding other little details. Here I'm going to paint a small section that's way off in the distance, and I know this, in my reference, the time of the year is late spring, and the mountain in the background's got a lot of green trees in it, but it's way off in the distance. So I'm mixing a cobalt blue and a little bit of Diox purple, and I'm going to desaturate it by adding a little sap green. I'm going to get just the right value to lay in all the deeper shadows in this little mountain range. A few things happen sometimes on the canvas. Every artist likes little surprises that happen. So before I seal that, I want to put down a few more colors. These are like little mental color notes. I'll just add them in. Okay, after the painting layer is satisfying to me, I'll dry it, seal it in binder. I'm always use a soft brush with the binder. It's a I use a soft filbert there. It's a Russian red sable. Dry that with a hair dryer. I'll come over with the matte medium and do the same thing. Lightly brush it on. After the binder varnish is dry, I brush on the matte medium, and I dry that with a hair dryer, and it only takes a few minutes. This is the next session, and I've already coated the painting with binder varnish, and this time I didn't coat it with matte medium just to show you that you can paint right over top of it. It's not easy to mess up the chemistry um, on the acrylic painting using the interactive, so you can pretty much paint over anything. And I've coated this, and now I've sealed that layer in. I know that all the paint that was there in the previous session is now there for good, and I won't mess it up by painting over top of it. And I'm going to start painting some of the details of these trees in. Sometimes I'll just brush some water onto something if I get too much paint down or I want to change an element somewhere. I can just put some water down on there. Just let it sit for a second and then pull it right off with a paper towel, so I can quickly create a lot of interest. without a lot of work, a lot of tedious brush work. I can spend more time creating than I can having to draw a lot of tedious details in. Now I'm going to move over to this side, and looking at my composition, I decided I'm going to push, this is where I get to exercise my artistic license, and I'm going to move away from my reference a little bit, and I'm going to push this area back just a little bit by bluing it up. Scumbling a little bit of blue over top of it. I picked up this reference because it had a lot of greens in there. There's blue greens, and there's warm greens, and there's yellow greens. And I'm doing it all with one color. Someone that wants to learn how to paint a tree, I always tell them to look at it as though you're painting an egg. There's always going to be a highlight. There's going to be the actual color of the tree. So, because trees can be varying color, shades of greens and shapes. So you get the shape down, but you want to look at it. There's a highlight color, there's the actual color of the tree, the ambient color of the light, and then there's reflected color. Shadow to this tree to put it in this space. If something doesn't look like it's in the right space, I gotta mix a color. Sometimes I'll have to gray things out and move them into the distance. The nice thing about having paint that's not quite cured on there too is that it's easy just to scrape it right back. Bring back details if you accidentally cover it over something, or if you want to just scratch back, do a different layer sometimes. That's another option. And I noticed that this was pretty hot, this green. It's a brilliant green. Again, it's just sap green. Probably had a little cerulean and some white in it just to make it a bluer green, but I want this little detail to help pull the eye in further, so I used a little artistic license and I went away from my reference and just painted it brighter, more and warmer. I want it to have a lot of movement, same texture to represent the grassy field. I'm just brushing and moving my brush in the direction of the sunlight as if it were peeking through from the side a little bit. I'm going to soften up this little hedgerow here a little bit because as I'm looking looking at the painting, it looks too monolithic, so I'm going to break that up a little bit with some light across the top of it. I got a hog bristle fan brush. It's pretty beat up and it's kind of spread out. And I'm just going to fire in some random details with a muted grass color. One that's in shadow, it's not too warm. Normally as grass comes forward towards you, it always warms up. You always paint it greener, but in this situation, this is all in shadow. This has light on it. This has sun in the background. So I'm thinking about my marks and how they would look in a field like this as I'm going away, as it's going away from me. And as I come further forward, they're getting bigger, and if I really come forward, I'll move the brush this way. So that gives it a nice grassy movement. I can even put some shadow areas in there. I'm dry brushing almost, just scumbling it across, and I'm looking at the composition, and I want those, like I did in my study, I want to be able to lead the eye in there. Have some interest in the foreground, but not distract. Because I want to lead your eye into this nice warm area here. And then you should be able to be drawn into the painting and then not leave it. So I have these clouds that kind of come like back into it this way, light leading into here, so you can. The foreground is basically just the stage that I'm setting. There's a lot of different compositional tricks you can do to make a painting interesting. And my next step will be to seal this, put binder varnish on it, because when I paint these wildflower colors in, I want them to stay vibrant. I don't want them to interact with the greens that are on here already, which they would. This will stay open for up to 3 days. So I planned ahead and did all this work so that I could paint the wildflowers in last. There'll be bluish violet colors in here. Alright, at this stage I sealed everything we did again in binder, just to leave it there because I like this state where it was. And now I'm moving on to painting some wildflowers and details, and the binder will keep it from reacting with the previous layers. And at this stage, I kind of did a quick and dirty version of how I usually paint, because I would normally have several more layers to go. But you can see with just a few layers you can get quite a dramatic effect and a lot happening in a painting. And I can do so indestructibly without ruining my previous work. It's a nice feeling to have a paint like this that's so flexible that I don't have a lot of angst and worry over having 10 minutes of uninspired painting ruin like 10 days of inspired painting. So I can go ahead and work on these new elements in the painting without having to, and experiment with it without having to worry about destroying all the work I did before that. If this was a standard acrylic, I'd be worried about painting over top of this, because anything I paint over top is not going to come off if I decide to change it. something's telling me I was being too fussy. Get towards the end of the painting, I'll throw it into a frame, and I carry it to a big mirror and flip it over in front of me so I get a fresh, instant view before my brain resets to recognize the painting that I just did. And it gives me an idea that I can see any compositional problems or color aberrations just by getting that fresh view for a few seconds. I'm just going to fix a few little anomalies here, tone down some of these pinks. Just brushing some of the hotness out of that pink that's in there, just so it fits in this cloud space better.